In the midst of this unprecedented coronavirus pandemic, a singular figure has emerged. I speak of Dr. Tedros, the Director General of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros as he's known in the international community. You must know him too. He's been holding press conferences every day for the last month and speaking with such calm and confidence and reassurance about what's happening, never sparing us the facts, but disgorging the facts with clear reliability and transparency and integrity. It's quite a persona. As a matter of fact, I wish other heads of UN agencies could perform in a similar fashion in a crisis. In truth, the Secretary General of the United Nations could learn a lot himself if he watched Dr. Tedros. Tedros's calm was only bestirred once in my experience. He got kind of agitated when a couple of days ago he said, and I'm quoting him exactly, "My continent should wake up, my continent should wake up." He's Ethiopian. He's talking, of course, of the African continent, a continent of hundreds of millions, but very few cases so far of COVID-19. Now, there are a couple of hundred in Egypt and 150 in South Africa. South Africa, the rise has been so dramatic and so sudden that the president has declared what he called a state of disaster. And there are now 33 out of the 54 African countries that have evidence of the coronavirus. And they're beginning to close their borders and cancel flights and cancel all meetings with people in numbers over 50 or over 100, the kinds of things that are happening in other parts of the world. But if the virus were to strike Africa with the ferocity that's been evident in Iran, in Italy, in South Korea, the disaster is beyond the capacity of the mind to comprehend. Africa is inordinately vulnerable on so many particular fronts. For example, the health systems are so fragile. Not enough hospitals, not enough doctors and nurses, not enough hospital beds, not enough drugs, not enough laboratories. And in addition to that, when we talk about our responses to the virus in a country like Canada, we talk about hand washing and social distancing. But how do you wash your hands in Zimbabwe when there's no water for so many hours of the day? That's true of many countries in Africa. How do you socially distance yourself when you're in slums and townships with hundreds of thousands of people trapped chock-a-block in little hovels, one upon the other? And then, of course, there's infectious diseases. HIV and AIDS on the one hand and TB on the other. HIV leaving the immune system so fragile, particularly for the millions of people who are not in treatment. To have a coronavirus on top of that would be inevitably fatal. And then on top of that, tuberculosis. By the way, it's World Tuberculosis next Tuesday, and we've heard very little about tuberculosis and the coronavirus and what happens. Tuberculosis is a disease, an infectious disease which strikes at the respiratory system in so many cases. And the coronavirus aims at the lungs as well. Again, a prescription for disaster. Oh my God, what would happen on the continent if the coronavirus was unleashed? One can only hope and hope that it doesn't happen. But it would feel horrendous, and it would be horrendous if it does. That was last week. I'm Stephen Lewis.